I get real stirred up about the environmental movement today. And what people don't realize is that I am the ultimate environmentalist. There is no bigger environmentalist than me. I'm making my living off of the environment. That is how I make my living. Why in the world would we ever entertain a thought that would do something to our environment that would hurt it?
Austin Brown III is a fourth-generation rancher in Bee County and says that he and his family live right in the middle of everything that takes place on their ranch.
I'm raising my children in that environment, my wife, the generations before us. We are the environmentalists. We don't do it because, like a lot of people do, because it gives them something to do and it makes them feel good about going and trying to save the rainforest or pick the topic.
Brown maintains that the farmers and ranchers of this country are the true stewards of the land.
We are the stewards of this beautiful creation, and we would never do anything that would harm that environment, and it has nothing to do with, well, it's going to cost us or not cost us money. We're doing it because it's the best for the land and it's the best for the animal, and if you take care of those animals and if you take care of that land, those animals in that land will take care of you.
I'm Shel Winkley, looking at Central Texas agriculture from the ground up.
From the Ground Up is brought to you by Producers Cooperative, proudly serving agriculture since 1943.
I was in a meeting with the head guy for this region with EPA. He is the guy that got caught on tape saying that running the EPA is just like, is no different than having a Roman army. You march into town, you crucify some Christians, and then the rest of them come in line. He was fired over that, thank God, but that really shows you the mentality of that agency.
Bill Flores is the U.S. representative for Texas's 17th Congressional District.
First of all, the EPA is way outside the scope of congressional intent. It's way outside the actual language of the statutes. And so I think that if we can get the courts to look at the Clean Water Act, that we'll be successful in getting a decision that says that EPA doesn't have the authority to pass the WOTUS rule the way they've written it.
Bond says neither side will quit with an appeals court ruling.
If we, as ranchers, win, the government's going to appeal it to the Supreme Court. If the government, by some unknown reason, wins, then we're going to take it to the Supreme Court.
Flores says the EPA isn't the only regulatory agency that's overstepping its authority.
The regulatory agencies, every Friday afternoon after the news services have finished for the weekend, they put out a dump of thousands of pages of new regulations, so there's no transparency. We'll have our A-game going, trying to do all we can to stop those. But we have a difficult environment because we have divided government with one party in charge of the House, the Senate sort of in flux, and then you've got a different sort of ideology in the White House.
I'm Shel Winkley, looking at Central Texas agriculture from the ground up.
From the Ground Up is brought to you by Producers Cooperative, proudly serving agriculture since 1943.
There's probably 4 or 5% of the anti-technology people, and that's fine with me if they want to be anti-technology, but they're trying to influence this vast middle section, probably 80+% of the population that really knows nothing about agriculture.
Travis Miller is the Associate Director of State Operations for Texas A&M AgriLife Extension and says the anti-technology crowd speaks with a shrill voice.
Anti-technology people saying, oh, you're going to die if you eat this stuff. Well, how wrong can they be? We've had 5 billion acres of GMO crops over the last 30 years, and there's not a documented case of any harm done to anyone with this genetic technology.
Miller points out that there are many interest groups with an anti-agriculture agenda.
And I'm saying we don't have room for that. There's just not enough capacity to grow food if we eliminate some of the major technologies that's made such a change in our agricultural production.
Miller says GMO technology is particularly important to hungry people in underdeveloped countries.
but it really is a big deal to somebody in Africa or South Asia, where a cup of rice with a few peas in it might be their main meal of the day. We can do better than that. We can produce more food, and we can do it more inexpensively than we have. And we have people that are under extremely affluent situation in their life determining what happens to somebody that's close to starving to death. That's just morally wrong.
I'm Shel Winkley, tracing the path our food makes from the farm and ranch to our tables from the ground up.
From the Ground Up is brought to you by Producers Cooperative, proudly serving agriculture since 1943.